Hello, sir. So moving on to the second part of AWS, where I'll be making a lambda function and using um, the AWS services to deploy it and test the function at the same time. So this was the function we created earlier. Now I'll do one thing is that I will make this function again since so that I can depict the process in a clear way. So uh, okay, so the function has been deleted. Now we'll go and create a new function, same name, and simply go and choose Python, which we did earlier, and advanced settings we don't need to change. And these things also can be default, and we don't need to change them. So over here, we can see it is creating the function. It will take 1 minute, or it only took half a minute. So it is loading the function. Yeah, so over here we have got this function. Now it is showing that we have successfully created the function langchain. You can now this is just the name of the function, that is langchain. We will have to put our own code, which we have implemented through langchain in PyCharm into this. And okay, so as we can see, we cannot deploy because it is already deployed. Now, if I want to test it, give it the name test1 and let these values be default only key values so that afterwards we don't have any problem. So when I go to click on test1, yeah. So here we get the result, hello from lambda. We can see that this is the result. Even if we put any other things, hello, hello, lambda, welcome to AWS. Now, whenever we make any change to the code, we need to deploy it first. So I have deployed the code, and again I'll click on test. So the code has changed. Hello from Lambda, welcome to AWS. So we can see that this is a basic code and the AWS is running completely fine. So over here, when we go to the overview, we are seeing that LangChain is linked with nothing. It has no trigger and it has no destination. So we will add triggers. Now what a trigger is that whenever a function is running, a step, certain step or a certain function will take place, which we can select on our own. It can be Alexa, it can be API gateway, CloudFront, code commit, or anything, even related to iOS, IoT. So over here, I'll choose API gateway and create a new gateway. Here I'm choosing REST API because it is going to help us get a complete control and also able to manage it. So I think we should let it be open key only because our process is not that complicated and we don't need any particular thing. So yeah, so the API gateway has been added. We can see over here LangChain API. Yeah. So once again, I just hope that it is recording. Okay. Yeah. So over here we can see that we have made uh, any type of, like we have not mentioned the type of HTTP API. So here we are getting method request and this is a basic flowchart. Or here we can also uh, see the number of options we or actions we can make. So once I want to go back to the API and depict how we can have other types of code also. So here what I'll do is I will delete this code, and I have written this one code for counting the words, number of words in a string. So I will go to that. I have this, I have already selected it. Over here we go. Now for testing it first, we need to deploy. Yeah, so it has been deployed, and now we will see if the code is right and we get the correct answer. So over here, we are not getting the correct answer as we need an input string, and for an input string, we will need an input string, and we will need to create either another test case, test runner, or we can make another API gateway which takes the input string through Postman. So I will, yeah, I will move it back to the code, same code over here. And after that, we will, after making the another trigger, we will be able to run the code properly for counting the number of words in a string, which is just a basic code for an example of how a trigger works. So again, I will go to API gateway, create a new API, REST API, open API, and additional settings, default. One second, API. Yeah. So just cross checking it once again since we don't, so that we don't have any other errors. Yes. So over here we can see that we are getting here hello from Lambda, welcome to AWS, and this is what was written in the code over here and what we could run. So here it was also showing that this thing status code. Now this is not shown because only the body will be shown as it is a basic function, and all this will not be shown and all of that is ignored. So this is hello from Lambda. Hey, welcome to AWS basic hello world program, which is the beginning step of every programmer. And when we go to the API console, here I will create a resource. Yeah, so we have many options like creating a method, creating a resource. So we can um, we can choose any one of them. So for example, I want to create a method, I can choose get. Like if I want a get method, so this is the one. Our integration type is lambda function. And okay, now we will have to put the name of our lambda function, which is langchain. You can see we will have to select it. Now I will save it. Now we are getting a warning, which is for adding the permission to lambda function, which is that you are giving API gateway permission, and we are okay with it. So now that it is saving, it has saved. Now the earlier it was based on any method. Now it is get method, which will help us implement this code through Postman. So going back. Okay. Yes. So I will refresh this. So as we can see now that our LangChain function, excuse me, now that our LangChain function has been linked to triggers, there are two API gateway triggers, which are, which are these two. So you cannot tell the difference just by looking, but we can tell it by you opening the details. And this one is has no authorization and any method, whereas this has get method, and uh, we have just created it. So yeah, okay. So yes, 1 second. Want to move this. So if we see what is available over here, it is the same thing because we have not written a particular code for getting another output. And now what we have to do is when we go over here, I will check the API. Now, when I'm at the API, there's something called logs. Logs and in AWS are also a major part as stages. Yeah. So over here, as you can see, there is no other stage created. Now, basically, the major important role of stage, which I have understood, is that stage helps us compile all of our APIs created on AWS and make a common URL which is invoked by AWS only, and we can use that URL to refer the website and uh, use it to get our output and test our functions. So over here, I'll go ahead and create a function. For example, production stage description. I'll leave that deployment. So this is the stage that we have created. Now it is showing us a forbidden error. It is showing us a message forbidden error. Now that is because we have not added the particular function that we are referring to. So over here in the URL, we will add, uh, yeah. So over here also we have got a little error. I think it is because this was the production that was not deleted properly. So I will delete this stage and create a new one. PROD and deployment. I have to choose. So I'll choose the deployment right now. So these are default rates and burst rates which are given by AWS only. So I am leaving them default only right now, and CloudWatch. Okay. So this is the deployment history that when it was deployed, as we can see, documentation history, nothing to show right now. So over here it is showing us this option invoke URL. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Finally, we have got this same output in the URL where we can see the output of our code that we wrote in LangChain, which is a Python function, Python code in AWS Lambda function. So over here we have got that, and when we go back to the API Gateway console, over here we can see the whole flow chart. which is not that necessary right now. So what we have done is created a stage called prod, which is invoking the URL. So even now when we click it, we are getting this missing authentication error. That will be because we need to put that function we are wanting to refer. So now we get the correct output. Yeah, this video might be a little long because uh, I am trying to explain every little bit I have learned throughout the process, and uh, I would suggest the to watch this video on 1.25 or 1.5x. So over here now, if I take this code and put this code, so I will deploy this code. Okay, so it is a very basic code. I will also go through the code right now. Uh, uh, Brief you with the code, and the code says that we are defining count words function where we are taking two variables, event and context. So if like we are getting the input through body and the event also. So we have initialized count to 0 for every word in words. Words is the string name of the string which we'll be getting as input. If length of word is greater than 2, we will increase the count, and the response will also be stored like this. We can also we don't need to put the whole response like this. Even if we just put the body, we will get the output. But just to keep things a little formal and better looking, we can do it. Okay. So, so I will copy this, open Postman. Okay. Okay. So over here, I will create a new workspace, and here I have entered the link. So in this we can choose get request, post request. So right now we are working on get request, so I'll choose get request option only. So then I'll send. So it is also showing missing authentication error. Now I will try to add this and see what error we are getting. Okay, so we can know that the postman is able to reach our website. That is one good news. So going back to our code, we'll see what error we are getting and if we can change it. So whenever I have any doubt with my code or with the server, I just go back to the basic hello world program and test it. So I will go to this again. Okay, so I will send a request again, and now we have got hello from lambda, welcome to AWS. Yes, so we have got this get request, and mm, we have got this. Now I seem to have some doubt with the code, but um, we use a Python. formatter and beautifier. Okay. So the code is not pasted. Now the code seems to be correct only. This will help me read the code. Now I will deploy the changes. Let's test it. We are seeing that lambda handler is missing on module. Error we are getting. So this is because hmm, okay. So this might be because we need to create another trigger. So this is basically the amount of storage we are using. Go to functions, choose our own function, or we can go from here only. Sources, any create method. Now I can choose post method because I want a post. Here again, I will add my function, lambda function, which I want to be used. Okay. Yeah. So we have declared three methods, any, get, and post. So from get, we can get the data, and post we can use to post our data in a JSON format. Okay. Yeah. So when I refresh this, we'll see three API gateways that we are using. Yeah, so it is three. And I will go to stage, production, and refresh it once again, just so that there are no errors. Here we are seeing this. So I have got this internal server error earlier also, but this is a very small fix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this link. I'm not sure if it has changed, and I will change it to post. And the post I will put first. I'll try to send it. So it is showing the error which we are getting. Okay, which you have to fix. So mm, choose. Yeah, so over here I will give string and the value. Okay, so for the input string, I will give any value which is called, this is AWS. You, you are welcome. Also, we are getting this missing authentication token, which is a very small fix. And since this video might not be that long, will turn out to be that long, I will uh, fix this and carry on to the next part. Thank you.